Hi, I'm Casey.
And I'm Gianni.
I never finished reading the Animorphs books as a kid, and I still haven't as an adult.
And I've never read them.
We can't tell you where we live.
But we can tell you that we want to revisit these books as adults and dive into what we would keep or change if we were to put it on TV.
Two friends, 50-something books. Welcome to Morphin Buddies.
And then the music kicks in, and then people are just so ready.
We're going to start it out a little different today, Gianni.
Oh, no. I hate when you tell me things like that. Something's going to go horribly awry.
All right. You ready? Yeah. You got to be on my side now. Remember, we're on the same team.
No, see, now it's worse. Now you're saying things worse. The more you say, the more... Okay, all right, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Neep. No,
Neep. I can't join in on this.
Neep. Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Morphin Buddies with me, your host Casey Cisnowski.
Too early for that.
We got a giggly early bird over here, Mr. Gianni DeMaia.
It's not that I'm just not a morning person, I guess. I'm just not. It doesn't matter how early I wake up, doesn't matter how many hours of sleep. It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't work for you.
I'm just not that guy, but here we are, you know? This is my art, you know? I have my Snapple. I've become a Snapple guy.
Mm-hmm. Very Snapple.
In my final form, I've become a Snapple guy. And I feel like you could probably always hear me drinking some sort of liquid on this show.
We can sometimes hear the crinkle of the wrapper of the Snapple.
Yeah, I try to not, but like sometimes, you know, you just can't help it. And now I've given into my final form as a Snapple guy. I have like a whole 12 case of Snapple in the fridge.
Wow, that's dedication.
That's how I get through the day. But how are you? Because this is the first time that we've done an episode since you became a famous playwright.
Oh,
you had your big shindig.
Yes.
Can you talk about it on the show? Is that allowed?
Yeah, big shindig.
Oh my God, how did it go?
We had 20 people show up for my show, which was more than I thought. I thought like only 10 people were going to show up.
First reading? That's crazy.
Yeah, I got 20 people showed up, and Dave was big help checking everybody in, setting up chairs, being nice to everybody. And he actually told kids running around the hallway to shut up because we're doing a play. Yeah. There were some kids running around and yelling, so he went out and he spoke to the adults of the situation, said, "Hey, we're doing a play. Can you keep your kids quiet, please?"
Yeah, a couple of Jakes out there running around.
Couple of Jakes. Gotta get it done.
A couple of Jakes.
Yeah, they're out of here. You hold them at gunpoint and say, "You better not."
Gun to the head.
But it went really well. There was a couple parts where we messed up, but like the audience didn't know because we're professionals. And
nice.
We had a nice little Q&A session afterwards, and I'm gonna do it again in the fall. So probably
finally, and I'll be able to go to that one.
Yay!
Hopefully,
probably like September/October times. So
yeah,
obviously,
I will give you the dates of all of the weddings that I'm going to.
Yes, please.
In September and October, so that you don't do them on any of those dates, and then we're good.
Absolutely, yes. Bring all your friends.
That's so fun.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So we're gonna start out this episode. We got a couple listener emails.
We did.
Yes, we did. One of them I sent to Gianni from a new emailer named Jake.
Yes.
What's up, Jake?
Yes. Yeah, Jake, I read your email. It was lovely. Thank you so much for taking the time. There was one part of the email because Jake 2. I'm just gonna call you Jake 1 because I hate the Jake in the books more than because I like you. So Jake 1 wrote a lovely email that just kind of chronicled through a couple of different episodes and his thoughts on a couple of different episodes. And Loved all of the feedback. There was some useful criticism in there. There was one thing though that you said we were hard on Jake 2 was it it was book 11,
The Forgotten.
And I disagree because I hate that fucking book. But it was a lovely email, and I appreciate the criticism, the time that you took to craft all that stuff. We really, really appreciated that. But thank you.
Yeah, the email's a little too long to read on the podcast, but you made some very valid points. Some things that maybe I was thinking in my brain that I didn't bring up just because we're chatting, and us Goyles, we just chatting around.
Yeah,
we forget.
Yeah, sometimes you get caught up on a bit, you know what I mean? And sometimes the bit spirals, and you just roll with it, And
That's
sometimes I stand by that. Actually, every time I stand 10 toes down on a bit. Sometimes I rope Casey into a bit that Casey doesn't intend to necessarily go 10 toes down. Sometimes Casey's 7 toes down on a bit. And then I make it so that you also join me 10 toes down, and then you forget to mention other things. But yes. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you put 0 toes down for the bit this morning. It's fine, Gianni. I'm not upset.
We'll talk about this book later, but I can't. I'm not a morning guy.
And then we got a second email from our buddy Just a Bird Jimmy.
Oh my God, I love Just a Bird Jimmy. He's such
Just a Bird
bird.
Jimmy subjects this email, "My Kind of Bird."
Hell yeah, dude.
And Jimmy said he's decided that he's a flying fox, which is probably a bird according to Gianni's taxonomy. So
okay. I love it.
So do you know what a flying fox is, Gianni?
No, but I'm gonna Google it right now.
Yeah, Google it right now. It is the cutest little bird. It is the cutest little bird.
Is it an actual bird or is it a fox? Oh, it's a bat.
It's a bat. Look how cute he is. But it's a bird. Based on your science. Yeah, that's a bird for sure.
Oh my God, it's horrifying. Does it blink?
Okay, hang on. Don't call Jimmy horrifying, okay?
No, I mean, Jimmy, you're great. This thing.
Jimmy is very brave to come out as a flying fox.
No, speak your truth. This picture, though...
Okay, that picture is actually terrifying. At 9 o'clock in the morning, that's absolutely terrifying.
Imagine looking up to the tree line and seeing this diving right down at you.
To clarify for our listeners, it is a picture of a flying fox bat. His wings are all spready, and he is like zooming down right into the picture. It is a little creepy, but close up, flying foxes are very cute. They're little fuzzy little bats.
No, I think if
birds.
I was snuggling with it, I think I would be fine. But
it'd be cute if he was just hanging on your shirt, on the collar of your shirt, and you just like reach down and cuddle him a little bit.
Yeah, I would have to know he's there, because if I didn't know he's there and he's hanging on my shirt, I think I'd kill it. But yeah,
you better not.
Could you imagine though? Could you imagine?
Know. I'd be jazzed. Actually, one time a butterfly landed on my shirt, and I was just like, like it was the best day. I was so happy. I was just like, I can't move. I don't want it to go away. It was sick. Anyway, also, Jimmy says he has a couple fun observations about book 22, The Solution. This is the Rachel book that we just read.
Yes.
He said, in Rachel's dream at the beginning, she kills Kenny. The South Park reference is thematically appropriate since she spends a lot of time in the book wanting to kill David. And I was like, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. And then he reminded me this, which was a good point I meant to bring up, but I didn't. He said, David betrayed the group, which means he's not only a literal rat, but a figurative one, too.
Oh,
got him.
Clever.
Uh-huh.
Very clever.
Yeah, Kay Applegate, what's up?
Wow, very smart, very smart. Yeah, you know what's funny? You know what that makes me think of? If I may draw upon a tangent for a moment. There was a time where one of my favorite movies of all time is The Departed, and if you haven't seen The Departed, you should. But I won't spoil it for people, but it's a lot about, like, cops and robbers and rats and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a man one time a pretentious individual at a bar that I got swept up into a conversation with, and I was talking about The Departed, and he said, "I hate that movie." And I was like, "Hate that movie? Why do you hate that movie?" And, like, sometimes when people say they hate a movie, what they really mean is they dislike a movie, but this person really hated this movie. And I was like, "Why do you hate this movie?" And the last shot of the movie has, like, the view from a certain character's apartment, and on the balcony, a CGI rat runs across the balcony as a thematic and visual tie for that
Rats.
character in the film. And he thought that that was too heavy-handed. And I said, that's one shot in a movie.
Yes.
And I don't remember what he said after that because I blacked out drunk.
You blacked out when you started beating him.
I realized this was a stupid conversation, and then I got drunk instead.
There you go. Just forget. Just drink, Gianni. Shh. Just drink.
So, anyway, all's to say, Just a Bird, thank you so much for your lovely email.
Yep.
That's brilliant. That's a great observation. And also, The Departed is a great movie. And don't let people tell you that it's bad.
Don't let anybody tell you different.
They don't like one shot.
Last thing little Jimmy said, loved the Steinhauser test. Just a bird, ? Jimmy?
No, don't. I don't love that test.
Yeah, I love it. I loved it. I had fun.
I don't love it.
I thought it was great.
No. Just a Bird, Jimmy, be on my side on this.
For a second, I thought you were
that
gonna.
That was entrapment.
It was.
That was illegal.
I am a little proud of myself though for getting you.
You should be.
So
it was good. I'm very gullible
Yeah.
as a person
Thank you.
as well. I hate April Fools.
I am
get
too.
nervous for it every year.
Oh.
I did not get got this year.
Good.
But could have very easily.
Could.
I was
could've.
a hair's breath
happened.
away, and I didn't. But I'm a
Good
very
job.
gullible individual, so yeah, the Steinhauser was good. Yeah, you got me.
Yeah, that was. You're welcome.
Whatever.
That was your April Fool's prank. Yeah, so thank you, folks, for emailing us. And we'll move on to the book that we're talking about today. Book 24, The Suspicion.
Yeah.
Mr. Gianni, how did you feel about The Suspicion?
Well, I'm glad you remembered what it was called, because
Are we back to our own shit?
Holy fuck didn't, because why was this book titled The Suspicion? Who
It's
knows?
suspicious.
We're back to pulling names out of a hat, I see. Back to our old tricks, I see.
Now, to remind folks, the cover is Cassie turning into an anteater. Yes,
Anteater,
not
which
an
is
aardvark.
not the same thing as an aardvark.
No,
learned.
no.
And
They're very
also, if you look at them, there's actually no way to get confused ever.
Yeah.
I don't know why I ever thought that. They were
It's the long
interchangeable.
noses,
They're
you
not.
know?
They couldn't be further from. It's like a dolphin and a shark. They really are not at all the same.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, actually.
Yeah, but we're all children under God's Son. You know? We're all dogs at the end of the day. You know
At the
what
end
I
of the
mean?
day.
We're all in the pound, you know, trying
That's
to
right.
woof our way on out of here, get up into heaven, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, The Suspicion, which is apparently what it's called, is a book.
It is a book.
That exists. It certainly
does
exists.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Because I feel like I'm going to sound like a hypocrite because everybody who's listening to the show knows that I love... Everybody knows I love the reaction because I think famously to about 2 or 3 people that write emails to us, famously said in the reaction that, you know, the Animorphs is at its best when it's either like heavy in on the silly or heavy in on the serious. It's at its worst when it's kind of in between. And I still stand by that. And this book is heavy on the silly. But really, your mileage varies with this book dependent on one thing. And that is the level at which you find it funny that a very, very small entity is hell-bent on world domination. If you find it so funny that, like, an ant, for example, would be hell-bent on world domination, if that's the funniest thing your brain can conceive of, then this book is going to be your favorite book in the series. If you find that mildly amusing, like I think most people, you're probably not going to like this book because it really is a book that has one bit. Like that's not to say that there's still funny character interactions, and a lot of the book really is a lot of Cassie and Marco kind of having to team up to get through this sort of weird circumstance, and some of that is entertaining. It's not like the book is a total waste or anything like that, but I think the thing that makes the reaction good and a much stronger outing into this foray of just outright zany silliness is because the reaction takes an unrelatable circumstance and then places it into relatable circumstances. So you're constantly weighing it with the appropriate stakes of what it would be like to turn into an elephant spontaneously in your own house, of what it would be like to be trying to hide in the bathroom while you're like trying to furiously get this alligator morph out of you in the midst of the chaos of about to appear on national television. It takes these circumstances that we have relatable and understandable stakes associated with, and it ties them to this thing that is just an outright wacky zany adventure, and that's what makes the reaction successful. Whereas here, there's never a moment in which I think Applegate convinces the reader that there is ever going to be consequences beyond the events of this book.
Yeah.
Because everything is isolated to a very, very niche, small community of people that are going to be sort of comprehending the actions that are transpiring. It's all like shrunken down. Nothing is going to have any lasting ramifications because no one's going to notice any of these things because it's all happening at like a microscopic level. So there's never that moment where the stakes are going to bridge into anything even remotely bridging on consequences, even in a short term or an interim, because you're just never convinced that this joke of an alien race is going to have any sort of lasting impact or impression on the series moving forward. So I just think that the whole thing, from top to bottom, is probably the most inconsequential book that we've read so far in the series. I think this is silly to a detriment. I think without it hinging on, certain characters that I find enjoyable. I mean, this is the book that is just, you could absolutely skip this book. Is pretty much where I land on it. There, unless there's some mastermind game plan for the Helmicrons to come back, which I would be surprised. But that's another thing, too. Like, the resolution also is basically Applegate telling the reader, like, yeah, this was fun, but we don't really give a shit about this, right? Because the resolution is like, what do you mean? Like, the threat's not gone. Why we're just walking away from this? And then they're like, yeah, but this doesn't really matter, right? And it's like, okay, well, I guess it didn't matter the whole time. So this really felt, unfortunately, like a sort of waste of time in the series. Now, that, I think coming off of several consequential books in a row, I think they earned the right, and I'm certainly not upset to have read it. But yeah, not my favorite. One of my least favorite books in the series thus far. How did you feel about it?
So I was kind of giggling because to me, I'm not.
Are you one of those people
I'm not one of-
that finds it super funny?
I didn't find it super funny, but I like for me, the fact to me, I don't know what it is. When somebody gets unreasonably angry and confident in themselves, I find that funny because it's like clearly you know, but the fact that you're still
Right.
so gung-ho about it to me is a little bit charming and funny. I do feel like the joke kind of wears out its welcome halfway through the book. But I still had fun with it. And I think that's a great point that you made about the reaction where it's much more relatable. I think also the reason the reaction was so successful for us is because it focuses in on our characters, or specifically what Rachel is going through. Whereas this book is more focused on aliens, another species of aliens. So it's
Yeah.
not
Another
species of aliens. So it's not quite as enjoyable because we don't really have any kind of connection with these new Helmicrons. Yeah, that's a really good point because I was trying to figure out like why don't I like this as much as the reaction? Like I feel like it's the same vein, it's the same kind of goofiness. There were some lines that really slapped it out of the park for me that made me giggle a lot while I was at work reading it. But otherwise, I just feel like it's like, all right, that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will tell you, I cannot confirm or deny that they may be back in a future book, but I just
lie to me.
want to give you a heads up, Gianni, just in case if they
Don't lie to
come
me.
back
They're
in
not
another book.
They're gonna come back and it's gonna just be like a graveyard of hell. like it's just there's gonna be. They're gonna come back and it's gonna be like, look at what happened to these guys. Remember them?
It's just a grave.
It'll be like book
Yeah.
50. Yeah, they'll be like, oh no, the consequences are now so dire. Remember the alien species that we fought that one time?
Yeah, I don't want to get your hopes up too much, but they might come back. So anyway, yeah, I thought this was it was just fine. There were some bits that really made me laugh, but otherwise I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's not really too much that's going to affect the series. Unless they come back in another book. But,
which they won't, because Casey's lying.
you don't know that. You don't know that. I could be truthing. I could be truthing.
Lying liar.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Here they are, the last surviving Helmicron.
R.I.P. in
Gun
peace.
to its head. Blow them away.
So it was fine. That was just kind of my
Yeah.
opinion. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
There's a lot of this book that, honestly, I think more than any other book, I was really noticing the prose a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because most of this book is actually spent not in Morph and processing things from a human perspective, which is interesting, but at a certain point really bloats it. Like, I really started to notice. And it was I can't remember, no, it was when they were on Chapman's head. And
they brought him back.
And Applegate is, like, going on and on describing, like the view over and seeing like the other heads mounting in the distance, and it's like paragraph after paragraph, and then at a certain point someone is just like, oh yeah, we're on his head, and I was like, you could have just led with that. Like, I didn't need all of this.
You gotta build the soundscape for you, Gianni.
Yeah, all of a sudden she becomes George R.R. Martin describing the Veil, where it's like, it's like, George, I know, it's a castle on a hill. I know, right?
Listen,
8
Gianni.
pages, George?
Yes.
8 pages?
Yes. These books are on the same level, Gianni, as Game of Thrones. We all know this. This is obvious to all of us.
Look, the reaction is. I'll take the reaction.
Hell yeah.
I'll take the reaction. I'm just kidding. I love Game of Thrones,
Um,
but I would consider it though.
do you think he's gonna
Consider
finish the
yeah.
series before he dies? Because I don't.
No,
No.
I think that Winds of Winter will come out, and I think that we'll never get the 7th book.
I think Winds of Winter will be halfway done and then he'll die, and then it's just going to be a bunch of fan fiction of other people finishing the series.
Yep. I think I my other theory is that I think that his editor is probably working tirelessly to try to get him to sign something, anything, to agree that they can at least tell people what the ending was going to be when he dies.
Sure.
And I think that he is steadfast in his, because he doesn't owe anybody anything. I mean, I feel for the guy, but I love George. It's unfortunate that he's tied himself so deep into the weeds with Daenerys that he literally can't get out of it.
Oh,
the thing is I think what's, not to get too tangential here, but if you know Game of Thrones at all, if he can get out of Meereen, if he can get Dany out of Meereen in a way that makes sense for the books. Now, if you've only watched the show, then you're like, well, she just goes across. The books, there's no reason for her to leave. If he can get her out of Meereen in a way that makes sense, he could probably blitz through the whole 7th. Like, the 7th book is probably not going to take him that long.
Yeah.
Winds of Winter is the hardest part. That's literally why it's taking this long, because he's so tied in this he's got no idea how to get her out of there. But hey,
that's how life goes sometimes, you know.
It's either that or you're Patrick Rothfuss and you have a whole 3rd book trilogy concluded, just sitting and waiting, but you're just so nervous that no one's gonna like it as much as the other 2 that you just are like,
wait, really?
Yeah, dude.
Dude, just release it.
I know, just bite the bullet. Like, it'll be fine.
Who cares?
Poor Rothfuss. I love that man so much, but man, yeah. I don't know if you've ever read the King Killer Chronicles.
Nope.
If you haven't, you should. If you like fantasy, they're amazing. They're so good. There are funny things about it though too. They're very long books, like very big chonkers, but you blitz through them. But like at the back half of the second one, at a certain point, his main character like ends up having sex for the first time and just becomes the god of sex. And you're like,
oh my god!
He just gets out of I can't spoil any of it, but he just starts like fucking for like the rest of the book. You're like, where did this go? So
that's amazing.
Like, there's parts of it that are just like absolutely Looney Tunes, but in the best way. It's some of the most beautiful prose I've ever read. But 100% that guy has a 3rd book written and ready and knows exactly what it's going to be and just doesn't want to put it out because the expectations are just too high and he's so nervous about it. Poor man.
Gianni's like, release the fucking. That's all I want.
Just do it. Yeah. Who
Just
cares?
do it.
I say just go for it. What have you got to lose?
Exactly. What do you have to lose? So should we dive into this book, The Suspicion, Gianni? What should we be suspicioned about? Do we know?
Oh, yeah, a little toy spaceship on the ground.
Looks pretty suspicious.
Oh, my God. That's the only suspicion that's in the book. Is really
that's really it.
Toy I don't recognize. It's like, okay. The book opens, and it's Cassie, and they're like talking about going to the beach, and she puts on a little swimsuit, and then Jake sees her, and he goes, "Awooga!"
That's what I thought too. When Rachel's like, "Cassie, he likes you," and Cassie's like, "He thinks I look ugly," and Rachel's like, "Shut up, you're hot," and Jake's like, "Awooga!" again, a second time.
I did find it very funny, her describing Jake's laser focus on looking at nothing but her eyes.
Yeah. Hello, Cassie, how are you?
Do not look at tits. Do not look at tits. Do not look at tits. Do not look at tits.
Bathing suit. We've
all been there, you know?
He's a little nervous boy. So then Cassie and Rachel, they see a weird little toy spaceship.
Yeah.
And they're like, huh, okay, I guess that goes in the Goodwill pile. Don't know what that's about. They toss it in the Goodwill pile, and we learn that the blue morphing cube is sitting under a water pump, which is where the toy spaceship was hanging out.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Here's the thing we know, though. We know that Yerks are little sluggy boys. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know we obviously know what a Yerk ship looks like, and it doesn't look like that. Mm-hmm. I would be concerned that maybe they like found a way to immediately. I would break this fucking ship. I would just play it safe. Who cares? Snap it over your knee.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they put it in a Goodwill pile. Also, the ship very willing to be put in the Goodwill pile at this part, which is not how the Helmicrons react for anything else.
No, it's absolutely not. I don't know, maybe their ship was down, maybe they were all sleeping, who knows.
Yeah, they just decided we're in incognito mode this one time.
One time, exactly. So then Cassie's dad takes all the stuff to Goodwill. But then, after Cassie's dad has left, they find another spaceship on the water pump, almost the exact same kind. And they're like...
Yeah, what the huckleberry fuck is going on, huh?
I love that. What the huckleberry fuck.
There you go. You could have it for free.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I give it away.
That's pretty good. So then the whole gang assemble together, and they say, "Hey, Axe, what's this about?" And he's like, "I don't know." And they're like, "Okay, great. Maybe we should go to Goodwill." So they all fly to Goodwill to go get the original ship.
Yeah.
And then they get in there and they're like, "Hey, we had a spaceship that we accidentally gave away that my dad just dropped off. Can we get it back, please?" And then, of course, we get the nerd behind the desk that's like, "What kind of spaceship is it? Star Trek? Star Wars? Boopity boop bop bop? Galaxy Wars?" Like, he's like naming off all these nerd spaceships that K.A. Applegate could think of. And Jake's like, "Vulcan." And he's like, "All right, dude, go on back." Like that was the password, you know.
You passed, bro.
So
hey, enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. So they get in there, they're looking around, they're like, there's the spaceship. And then Jake gets shot. And then Cassie gets shot. And Rachel gets shot from this spaceship.
Yeah, but like it's not like it really hurt. Like it's just kind of like ow,
pinpricks. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I remember, I think Rachel's the one who like is like, what the fuck? Because they blow off like a couple of strands of her hair.
Yeah. She doesn't like that.
She's like pissed. Mm-mm. And she's pissed. And at this point, surely they'll just step on it. You think, right?
You think?
Mm-mm. Wrong. Mm-mm. They don't.
They get a thought speech in their head from these creatures.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's really only one line that these guys got in the tank, and they're just going to say it slightly different in slightly different ways, but really all they are is, "You are bound to us puny humans. You will once again suffer at the hands of the Helmicrons." They're like Power Ranger villains.
Yeah, they're pretty Power Ranger-y villainy, which I kind of enjoyed to start. And they say, "Yeah, we're the Helmicrons. We're gonna get you. We're gonna kill all of you since you took our ship."
Yeah.
And the two ships are called, what is it? Planet Crusher and Galaxy Blaster, something like that. Which I was like, that's kind of cute.
I'm glad you wrote that down because I did not remember.
Yeah,
that.
it's one of those two. But these two ships apparently hate each other, and they're fighting against each other while also fighting against our gang, which...
Yeah, that's like a whole other added element. There's like a weird civil war going on. Because at a certain point, it's not here, but it's like almost here, where once our like we have Cassie and Marco, I think, get shrunk down, and then they're like held at gunpoint by some of the Helmicrons, and then the other ship of Helmicrons comes up and is like, "No, they will be ours." And then they're like, "No, we'll be taking them for ourselves." I promise this is funnier than the book really makes it. This voice is doing a lot of the legwork, I promise.
Yes, absolutely. So the Helmicrons say, hey, we want the power source, so give us the power source. By that, they mean the blue box. And Cassie realizes
Right.
that. And she's like, hey, guys, look, I'm sure we can all work this out. And then they're like, no! And they fly away. They fly out of the Goodwill.
Yeah.
They find a way to fly out of there. And so...
Which is a bummer because I really was hoping that all of this action would take place in a Goodwill because that's so 90s of them.
Very
but
90s of them.
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit.
Only a little bit.
So they say, hey, Tobias, you got to follow them. We're all morphing now. We're all going to morph birds. And we're going to go back to Cassie's barn because we think they're going to take the blue box. And Tobias is like, I'm on it.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're flying around, they see Tobias getting shot at. And they're like, no, Tobias, no, because he's a bird and he's much smaller than a human. And they fly, people shooting, and they get to the pump. And Tobias gets away, which is good. But now the second ship is coming in, and so everybody's getting worn out as birds, flying and swooping and diving and trying to, like, not kill them, but also not get hit by the lasers. And they're all getting tired. So then Cassie demorphs into human, and she goes in the barn and she sees the ship. And they've got the blue box now, and it's hovering next to the ship. And Cassie's like, hey, guys, stop it. And they're like, no. And they shoot a camera flash at her. And then Cassie starts to shrink. Oh, no, she's getting so small. Getting to be a little small lady. And then Tobias...
I think they say 1/16 of an inch.
Something like that,
in,
which
in
is real tiny. Real tiny. And then Tobias...
I don't know how Cassie would have that level of self-awareness for her own height, but very good on her.
She can measure herself. That's her skill. She knows how to measure herself.
Of course. Yeah, she looks at anything and just...
I know exactly what that is.
13 and a half inches.
So then Tobias swoops in and Cassie's like, no, Tobias. Tobias gets flashed. And then Marco comes in. And then Marco gets flashed. And they're all shrinking down.
Oh, no.
And Cassie's like, Tobias, you have to tell everybody else to not come into the barn. We don't want them to get small. And then we find out Rachel's just tossing bricks at these spaceships because she doesn't give a fuck. They ruined her hair.
Right.
Which is great.
And then don't they shoot her and she like drops a brick or something on accident, right? And then Axe cuts the brick in half with his tail and it barely misses our other intrepid heroes.
Our small heroes now,
it's like a big old standoff, you know? It's a big old, well, I'm going to throw this brick at you. And then they're like, you won't throw the brick at us. Throw the brick at you.
I love that voice, Gianni, because really, I'm not discerning a ton of words from it, but I understand the feeling, and I think that fits perfectly for the Helmicrons, you know?
Exactly. It's all about the sentiment, and that's exactly the sentiment of every single thing they say.
Yes. So Jake threatens to hit the ship with a brick, and he actually ends up grabbing the blue box, and the ship flies away. And so... Cassie, Marco, and Tobias are all teeny tiny now, and Cassie's dad comes into the barn, and Axe is now a human. This is a great part. Axe just knocks it out of the park, being a regular old human, nothing here to see.
This is the closest they get to the reaction. This is the moment.
Yeah, and Cassie's dad is like, "Who's this?" And Jake is like, "Oh yeah, this is our friend, Axe." And Axe is like, I am from the Republic of the Ivory Coast. And he's like, I don't think that that's true, considering what we know.
And then he just starts rattling off countries. He's like, what about if I was from... And then he like lands on Canada. And he's like, yeah, I guess you could be Canadian. He's like, yes, I am Canadian.
No, he says Canadese.
Canadese. Canada's nuts, right? And then
he gives a high five to Cassie's dad, and they both laugh.
No. Cassie's dad is like politely, please leave, and then
scram.
And he's like that kid is weird as hell. I have to ask Cassie about it. He's like muttering under his breath. Great stuff.
Yeah, and then something happens where as Cassie's dad turns to leave, he accidentally like kicks up dirt and buries Cassie. And Cassie's like, I'm in dirt.
Oh yeah, he scuffs his shoe.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the mini gang that I'm calling them now, Tobias, Cassie, and Marco, they discover they're
Right.
super strong because they are so small.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because something about proportions, I don't know. They didn't
Yeah,
really-
so it's like the same thing with ants. Ants are crazy strong for their size. So I guess this logic applies to them when they are small, which is
Yes.
great. Okay. And then I think the Helmicrons actually show up like in person at this point, right? Don't they take them
and
away?
They're kind of like they look like flat-headed little space alien
With
humanoid-
4 legs.
Yeah, little freakos.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you will come at us. And then it's at this point, right, where our other gang comes in. The B team comes in.
Yes. And they're all
and
cockroaches.
They're cockroaches, and Axe is a spider.
Wolf spider. Mm-hmm.
And Cassie goes on and on about how scary these things look when she's the size of a thumbtack or whatever.
And then Axe is like, did I make an error when I said I was Kennedy's? It's like, dude. You're good,
Yes,
Axe.
dude.
Don't worry, we're not worried about that right now, Axe. Right now we're very
Yeah,
small.
Actually, the least of my worries.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then the Helmicrons start like blasting.
Yeah.
And it turns out that when you're a small little cockroach or a spider, you actually get hurt really bad.
Yes.
From these guns.
They shoot
And
his
they're
legs
like,
off.
You gotta
Yeah.
demorph. And he's like, he's like very calm about it. But he's like, but I am afraid that if I, as he's like falling over, but I am afraid that if I demorph, I will crush our friends.
And they're like, no, you gotta do
Like-
it. Do
they're
it.
like, dude, it doesn't matter. Just demorph.
And then so the regular gang kind of runs off and they go to demorph and regroup. And then we hear the battle cry of these Helmicrons, which, Gianni, would you like to serenade us with their battle cry?
No. I won't.
You
do it.
absolutely. Gianni, you have to.
I won't
I
do
did
it.
at the beginning. You
I
gotta
won't
do it.
I'm not doing it. I won't do it.
Gianni's
And it's going to be a very
Listen.
boring episode for the rest of the episode because I won't
Terrible.
do it. And we'll just
Terrible.
be dead quiet for the rest. Everyone's going to listen to dead silence on this podcast for the next.
It's just me talking
20
to myself.
minutes. Yeah, no. What's. No. What do they say?
Neep.
I'm
They
not
just
doing it.
chant neep over and over and over.
So
And
stupid.
that's when they celebrate. They just go neep, 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 neep.
What does it
And I was just
mean?
like,
Did they ever say
I don't
what
know.
it means? It
well,
just
here's the thing.
says-
That's the noise they make from their mouths, whereas the rest of the time they're thought speaking to everybody.
It's
So,
the
like-
only thing they can say.
Yeah, maybe it's the only thing they can say.
Yeah.
So maybe put your judgments in your back pocket, Gianni. Okay.
Check your judgment at the door.
Chickadee check yourself before you rickety wreck yourself.
You got a
know
lot
what
of
I mean?
baggage there. Why don't you check that judgment? It's going under the plane in the cargo hold.
There you go. Exactly. So they neep away, and the mini gang surrenders, and they're taken aboard the Helmicron ship.
Yeah.
And they're taken to the leader, who is dead.
Yeah, this was a twist. But I don't know.
I was
if
like, wow,
needed-
okay, this is fun.
I don't know. I don't know what. And then, like, later, I don't think they even say it in this scene, but, like, I think they say it later on. But basically, the whole
Yeah.
reason that the leader is dead is because they're like, the leader can't make a mistake if they're dead.
If they're dead.
I'm like,
So therefore,
I'm like, what kind of fucking logic is this? But,
so therefore they make the
yeah,
best decisions.
It's a great point. Great point.
And they make Cassie and Marco grovel.
Right.
And Cassie's like, I don't know how to grovel. Marco's like, oh, I'm groveling. I'm the groveliest groveler that ever groveled. And Cassie's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, grovel. And she's like, I'm groveling.
Yes.
Is this it?
This is a
And
big
Marco's just
grovel.
basking in the grovel. He's loving it, which I thought was fun.
Yeah.
And then
They also at this point figure out that the Helmicrons know who has the Animorph powers, and they're like, we need to eradicate
Yes.
those people first. And Cassie gets
the people that can morph. Yeah.
yeah, and Cassie gets the idea to be like, well, there actually is one who is the leader of all, and basically it's like, you should probably go after this guy. I think they call him Visser 3. He's a really important one. So they're like, oh yes, we will go after the Visser 3. We will take down the
Oh my god. It's starting to get more aggressive.
We're gonna fucking kill him.
Oh my god.
Polarize his little brains into blood matter. We're gonna feast on his corpse. Feed it to his descendants.
Yeah, so they say something like that. And then the Helmicrons start fighting amongst themselves and kill some of their own people, which I forgot why.
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't remember
This lost
why.
me a little bit. Got lost in the
Yeah.
weeds. I remember
Lost in the sauce.
really coming back into focus. Like I felt like my eyes went in two different directions for a while. And I just glanced at words on a page, and then my eyes came back into focus, and they were like on Chapman's head or something.
Yeah. We
they,
find
like-
out. Sorry, we find out the aggressive ones, the ones that are neeping around, are females. They're women
Right.
Helmicrons.
Yeah, the men are basically like the subservient race of the Helmicrons.
Yes, and the mini gang is taken away by a male, and Marco's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "I do not have a name." And Marco's like, "Wuss? What about Wuss? You think Wuss is a good name? You think Wuss is a good name? I'm gonna call you Wuss. You Wuss."
Yeah, nice.
And
Roasted his ass.
and yeah, this is where we find out where the captain is dead. How else can you be sure she will not make a mistake? Great, and and they also say the male Helmicron, Wuss now says a female may not ascend to a position of importance in our society unless it is certain she will not cause problems. She must be a symbol that all can admire. And Cassie's like, get a load of this society. She's like, wow, exactly like us. Huh, that's funny. And I was like, wow, okay, cool.
Sure.
a little bit of recognition there.
Yeah, let's jab the patriarchy a bit. Although they overcorrect. I think.
Yeah,
a bit too
oh,
far
God.
At the end, when it
Yeah.
verges into like straight misogynist territory.
Yes.
But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Just even it out. So then the Helmicrons say, hey, we've been flying around and we found the blade ship, which was very fast considering this was like a half hour later. They were able to fly from Cassie's barn into outer space and find the blade
great
ship.
eyesight. Got
Yeah,
great
they-
eyesight, these guys.
They go very fast. And they start shooting at the Visser. They find him and they're going to start shooting him. And, it's, okay, this is the part where my eyes started to go a little wonky also. Is the Visser like in a car or did they find him on the ship or like where, Gianni,
Yes.
I think he's in a car or a room.
Yes.
I don't remember.
In a space.
They're in an area.
Certainly in one of the spaces that exists. in a
So
space.
they find the Visser talking to Chapman. And
I do remember the Visser is in human morph. That
Yes.
was a part that I do remember.
Yes.
He's in his Idris Elba morph.
Yes.
And that I remember.
Yes.
Talking to Chapman, also remember that because does the ship land on Chapman's head or is that after they morph into something else? Because if I recall correctly, they all go into like battle morph.
Right after,
Because-
yeah.
Cassie finally gets the idea that, I guess I should have mentioned this earlier, but that when they tried to morph to other things before, the size that they were shrunken to now becomes their new proportionate size. So when Cassie like morphs into something smaller, for example, she shrinks down to the proportionate size smaller from that new 1/16 of an inch.
Right.
So she's like teeny
Teeny tiny.
And they get the bright idea that they were like, what if we morphed into something bigger? It's like, oh, wow, go figure.
Yeah, that was my first thought when they first were shrunk. I was like, just be bigger.
Thought.
Be something bigger.
Just be if you're an elephant, even if you're the proportionate size to the Helmicrons, you're still an elephant you're still massive.
You're still
to
bigger
them.
than them, yeah.
I don't know why that wasn't like the first fucking thought, but anyway.
Yep.
They come up with that ingenious scheme.
Yes, they decide they're gonna morphalize, and they get really, really tiny, and they can actually see individual cells, like microscopic cells, which I thought was like an interesting thing to write about. Like they can actually see cells dividing because they are so small.
Yeah, that's a little in the weeds
yeah.
for me. My brain big dumb. My brain big dumb. Okay? And my brain don't need no. How tiny? Teeny tiny? Got it.
Tiny, real tiny, real small.
That's all I needed.
So then Helmicrons are starting to get blasted. Tobias finds the full-grown gang and lets them know that Cassie and Marco were forced on the ship to help the Helmicrons. And so our full-grown gang comes in to join this fight against the Helmicrons v. Visser 3, v. Cassie and Marco and Tobias. And they leave Axe alone at the barn guarding the blue box in human morph.
Genius.
Which Cassie even has this realization in the book. She's like, oh my god, Axe is a human. He doesn't even realize he has to look behind him.
I forgot you said that. You said that. So
that made me laugh so hard. I was like, oh no, Axe, you have to look. So we find out the ship, Planet Crusher, took the blue box from Axe, and they're flying in. They're like, Visser 3, time to be tiny. And they shrink him too, which is great. And then what happens that can only Cassie describe as a Titan hoedown. And Cassie decides to morph into skunk, and Marco morphs into a mole, so Tobias can pick them up and put them on top of the Helmicron ship. And now Cassie's going to morph whale, and Marco's going to morph something else big to weigh down the ship to slow it down so they can get the box. So then Axe, there's a whole lot of juggling shuffle. Who's got the ship? Who's got the box? Axe ends up grabbing the ship and the box. Then Jake and Rachel get shrunk also. And now they are fighting the Yeerks on Axe's leg. The shrunk Yeerks on Axe's leg, the human controllers of the Visser.
Yeah, there's like this whole moment where they're facing off with each other, and Visser 3's like, so I guess this is an unlikely place for a final battle. And then they all turn at once to the Helmicrons, who are like, well, we will watch you all kill each other. And then they're like, and it's at this point, and I'm pretty sure it's the Visser that says it too. It's like, basically, he's like, listen, I don't like you guys, but these guys fucking suck.
Yeah.
And so they all turn on the Helmicrons. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
But then it kind of just, it doesn't exactly tell us what the fight was really like, because Cassie comes up with a plan where she's like, take us to
the gardens.
Yes, the zoo. I was gonna say zoo, but it's not really a zoo, but it's kind of a zoo. Anyway,
it is a zoo. Yeah, it's a zoo. It's just called the gardens.
Yeah, she's like, take us to the thing. We gotta get ammo. What does that mean? It means that she has anteaters at this zoo. Which we've never before. How are we 20 fucking billion books into this series and there's still animals at this zoo that I'm like, where did this animal come from?
There's a lot of animals at the zoo, Gianni. You know, they've gotten battle morphs, but when did they ever need an anteater? Psh, that's not a battle morph.
Yeah,
But also,
clearly.
how does Axe know what an anteater is? How does he know exactly? I mean, Cassie's like, okay, drop us. And it's like,
He's been studying books.
How does Cassie know that they're going to land exactly on an anteater?
He's been studying many a book. So
Cassie thinks if they acquire a new morph, they'll morph it and they'll be back to regular size.
Genius.
Great. It's anteater time. So they all do that. Cassie turns into an anteater. Visser 3 is now an anteater. And Cassie almost eats the Helmicrons. She's got her little sloop tongue out, grabbing the Helmicrons, and then she stops before she swallows. She's like, I almost chewed them with these weird teeth that anteaters have? Question mark?
Coward. She's eating them.
And then the Visser grabs Tobias the same way on his little anteater tongue, and he's like, so, we're
Now
at
we
a
will
standoff.
talk.
And then Axe jumps in, puts his tail blade against Visser's throat, and he's like, I think not. Let Tobias go. And then the Visser's like, okay. And then they let him go. They allow the Visser to go back to regular size, along with the other human controllers, which why? Keep him tiny.
For why?
Keep him small. Why?
No, they decide actually this book is not going to matter at all.
Yep.
And
so we're just going to fix everybody, make everything better, and then the Visser just lets them go.
Yep.
Does he see that they're
agreement.
human? Because it feels like he should.
He's a yerk of his word, I guess, this guy.
And then and then I put Cassie and Marco radicalize the male Helmicrons.
Yeah.
They
they basically red pill them. They're
they feed them Andrew Tate and like all the other alpha male bullshit that we get on the internet. And
they're like, you're in charge. You're a big strong man.
You're a big strong man.
Need a woman.
Yeah, women should just cook and be in the kitchen, and that's where they're happiest.
Yeah.
And if they're sluts, they get thrown out on the streets. You know.
Yeah. You know what? If we keep saying stuff like this, maybe we'll get like a really big audience. Because apparently,
Jesus Christ.
Apparently, people flock to that dumb bullshit.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
It's hard to be a lady on the streets now. You know what I mean? Anyway, so then they let the Helmicrons go, where the male Helmicrons are now fighting against the female Helmicrons. And as they're flying away, Cassie's like, well, I guess they'll never resolve that dilemma, because men and women just can't get along. And then the book ends. And I'm like,
Hey!
What a horrible ending.
What? I mean, nothing changes.
Women be like...
The only thing that changes is that now we know that this threat exists in the galaxy, and now every book we read, I'm gonna be like, oh no, is Casey right? Are they gonna come back?
I can't tell you, Gianni, but like maybe they could come back.
I hope you're lying.
No,
You're lying.
I don't know. I don't know. So just like in terms of like a TV episode, I don't think I would even put this in unless we could fit the Helmicrons somewhere else in another episode.
Cut it out.
Because I'm pretty sure the Helmicrons come back. So, you know, we gotta have them somewhere. But
I will reserve my Helmicron edition into the television series adaptation until I see the totality of their story arc. If there is, in fact, more. If this is truly all there is, as perhaps it should be, the Helmicron should be a book-only edition, I think. And a lot of that, honestly, is budgetary stuff. It's just very expensive.
Yeah.
And to do a lot of very tiny people on very big things.
If we are going to do something like that, I would just cut out Visser 3 entirely. Like, there's so much going on. We don't need the Visser as a part of this. And I think it really brings the story down to include the Visser, because then it's like you write yourself into a corner where it's like, well, if we're staying true to the characters, the Visser has to murder them or they have to keep him small. And then what is that going to look like for the rest of the series? It kind of pulls the entire thing down. So I think if we have to make this a TV episode, I would cut out the Visser entirely, and I would focus more on the small stuff versus the tall stuff. And maybe, again, like, focus on the human aspects of Axe.
I think that the way, if you're gonna adapt it, I think the overhaul that I'd really do is it should just be like a two character like side story.
Yeah.
Because like if it's just Marco and Axe kind of going through this, where Marco gets shrunken down, Axe has to keep covering him in front of Cassie's dad as Marco tries to navigate through the Helmicron war fleet, and Axe has to, like, basically find ways to, like, hide what's happening from Cassie's dad as they attempt. Like, you can make something that's quite entertaining and funny out of that little side adventure in this comedy of errors that Marco is and then at the end of it, obviously, you kind of come to Marco turning to Axe and being like, "Never tell a soul what happened with this."
Yeah,
exactly. We're taking this new alien species to the grave. We're never talking about this ever again. I think that's kind of funny.
That's way better.
That would be something I would consider if we have to have the Helmicrons in this at all. That could be something worth exploring. But yeah. I'll reserve my judgment on it until we see what the totality is of this story arc.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right. What's that? Should we look at the next book in the series?
Is it The Extreme?
Yeah, you're going to like this cover, too.
Why is his shirt so big?
It's the 90s, baby. Everything big and baggy.
Is so big.
Actually, that is very big. The t-shirt
so large.
And almost it. Okay, so we've got, what do we have on the cover here, Gianni? Just so people get a good visual.
So it looks like Marco, and he's in literally like the world's longest shirt. Like it proportionally to his arm, like where the cutoff is of the like flannel cutoff shirt that he's got over it. Like, it looks fine, but it's just so long. It goes like so
it looks,
long.
and then if you look at his legs, it looks like the flannel shirt comes down to his knees. But that also, in proportion, his legs to his upper body his legs look tiny. Like he's got the longest upper half in the world.
It's just something so wrong and uncanny about it. And then he begins morphing into, in the second image, he looks kind of like my childhood best friend Ben. Although Ben was much more handsome than this, but he had that kind of round face.
Yeah, and I would assume Ben also had individual fingers, because if you're looking at his little hand there, it's just a mitten.
He doesn't have
a skin mitten.
Ben has real fingers.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
And then the third image, we become something else entirely.
I don't like the direct eye contact.
I don't like how he's just staring right deep into me. Because by the time he gets to full polar bear in the fifth one, he's looking kind of just off into the distance. But in the third image in particular, he's really beaming me down. And it's really,
right into the soul.
Really not cool. But yeah, I guess he's not a polar bear.
Yeah, and what's the tagline on there?
It says, "So many yerks, so little time."
Ooh.
Which could mean anything.
Yeah. So what do you think this book is going to be about before I read the synopsis?
Well, it's polar bears, so one of two things is happening. Either they go to the North Pole to visit Yerk Santa, or they get trapped on the Lost Island.
Oh my God, yes.
and
That's
encounter a polar bear, and they're like, "What is this polar bear doing here?" And they're like, "We
that a
don't
polar
know."
bear?
And they're like, "The writers don't even know."
No, the writers do know. Did you ever finish it? You didn't finish it.
I'm on season 6, episode 9.
Okay, so you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
Did you get to the episode where Ben has his little sad monologue? Where he's like,
Ben
no one
has a
else
sad
will
monologue.
no one else will have me.
Did I?
Oh,
I don't know. I feel
that's
like I
like-
would remember that.
That's like my favorite. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreakingly sad. You probably would remember it, so you're maybe not there yet. I think it's more than halfway through the season. So
I feel like I would remember that. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I don't
yeah.
think I did.
when you get to it, I think you'll probably know it. And that's one of my favorite monologues from the show. Anyway, okay, good. So you're getting there. You're almost to the end. All right, so we will go to the synopses here.
Mm-hmm.
Marco, the other Animorphs, and Axe, again, excluding Axe from the rest of the Animorphs. Why?
Why do they keep doing that? That's so weird.
Yeah, he's an Andalite, but, like, he's part of the gang.
Yeah.
He's part of us. Anyway, have managed to find out where the Yeerks are planning to build their next ground-based Kandrona. That's a good thing. The location is supposed to be somewhere near the North Pole.
Get the fuck out of
That's a
here.
bad thing.
Get the fuck. Get the fuck out of here. You're kidding me. Get the fuck
Wait.
out of here.
All right, wait. The next...
The North Pole.
Yes. The next two sentences
Not
really...
just somewhere north.
The
like
North
Canada,
Pole.
or
No.
Not just somewhere that could be cold.
Somewhere near...
The North Pole.
Yes.
The thing that I said as a joke that they would go to, that's where they're going.
Gianni, look at the
North
title.
Pole.
Look at the title. It's called The Extreme.
Oh
Somewhere
my
near
God.
the North Pole.
If you have Santa in this description, I'm gonna lose it.
I'm just
I'm
imagining...
going to lose my mind.
Imagining a single Yeerk sitting on the ice with a tiny little Santa hat.
Holy shit.
Okay, hang on. Here we go.
Okay.
The Animorphs and Axe know that the Yeerks are a cold-blooded species, but this is a little nuts. Who wants to be near the North Pole without Arctic morphs and wearing spandex? Even so, the kids know that if the Yeerks succeed with their plan, Earth is pretty much done for. And Marco and the other Animorphs and Axe aren't quite ready to give up the fight. ...
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I mean... I don't even know what to make of that, to be honest with you.
It's pretty good, right?
So, we're going to the North Pole.
We're going to the North Pole. So the extreme,
So that must mean...
the title fits. Yes. Yes.
I guess.
Also, I don't think the Yeerks are cold-blooded.
Yeah, that's kind of news to me.
Maybe
but
that's more
also-
like an alliteration, like they're cold inside their hearts. So
Yeah,
like,
let's think about it that much. I'm sure that's how much they thought about it.
So here's...
Are we... When do we get to the ghostwriting stuff? Because I know that it happens in the 20s.
Yes.
Are we there yet?
I'm not going to tell
Did
you
it
yet.
happen?
I can't tell you. I
Okay.
know which one it comes up. I'm not going to tell you which one.
But it's not this one. This one was written by them.
I can't tell you because it's in the 20s somewhere. I'm not going to
I'm
tell
gonna
you.
have to guess. I'm gonna guess as I'm going.
Yes,
Okay.
as we go through the episodes, you can guess, and I'll keep a list of the numbers.
I'll take a wicked stab
Uh-huh.
and say that the North Pole one is probably. If I was looking for a ghostwriter, which one do I want to pawn off on the? How about the one where they go to the fucking North Pole? That's the one. I choose that one.
They're like, we need a new environment. Where are we gonna go?
Oh, you like the series? Here, take a crack at this.
I hope Santa comes up.
Take a stab at
I
it.
hope Santa comes up. Also, how did they get back from the North Pole?
It's gonna be like The Forgotten. They're gonna all die and then wake up and be like, oh,
Well,
it was all a
dream.
dream. That fucking book. That fucking book.
So
Jake 1, you are wrong. That book sucks. And Jake sucks in it.
Jake wasn't that bad
I'll
in it.
stand
Jake
up.
wasn't that bad. He
No,
was better
he
than what he
sucked.
usually was.
No, the only reason he's better in that book than what he usually is because it's the only book that, like, starts to acknowledge that, like, maybe he's not that good of a leader because he's supposed to, quote, learn a lesson. But he doesn't learn anything because he has to be retaught that lesson again the next time he's in a leader position. So the whole book, throw it out the window. Also, with that whole comment about, like, oh, Marco gives him a hard time. Marco makes, like, one joke that's like, I don't know, you're not really that good at this. That's not consequences. And then they die, and that's consequences,
Yes.
but they don't die, because it's all a
Yes.
dream, so it's fucking useless.
And then Jake's like, you know what? Let's get out of here. Let's not do this mission. And they're all like, okay.
They call it The Forgotten because you're supposed to forget that it was written. I'm sorry, Kay Applegate, I love you.
Apologize to
Great.
Jake
This
1
is a great
also.
series. Jake 1, I will not apologize to you. You know,
Ooh.
Jake 1, you know I love you, and you're allowed to say whatever you want. And you were right about many a thing, but The Forgotten
Yes.
is not one of those things, and I won't apologize.
We can all agree to disagree and still love each other. I think that's the important thing to remember.
Here's the thing, Jake 1, all right?
Uh-oh.
Here's the thing.
Fight, fight, fight.
You either get on the Jake hate bandwagon or you get left behind. That's
Oh my
really
God.
all-
Wait,
those are the
hang on.
only options.
We haven't had a Jake hate bandwagon in like quite a few books. He's been pretty good
That's true. That is
in
true.
the last few books. We do have to give credit where credit is due.
No, actually, he was legitimately...
Especially in the David trilogy. He was great.
He was legitimately good in the David trilogy.
There you go.
And then he hasn't bothered me in a while. So
There you go.
You're right.
Growth,
The
character
20s,
development.
The 20s thus far have been a big step up for Jake. Credit where it's due.
There we go.
I know. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know what lurks in the shadows. And I know that sneaky son of a bitch, Jake 2, is going to pop out of the woodwork with his own antics and say something stupider than hell. And I'm going to laugh like a maniac when he does. And I will shout it from the rooftops that
Yes.
Jake 2 deserves to be crucified for his sins against humanity
God.
and thrown to the wolves because he is one of the worst people in the Animorph series.
Oh my God, Gianni. So if you have any opinions on that, you can email us at morphinbuddies@gmail.com. That's morphinbuddies
GMAIL.
.com.
Oh, I know what you did there.
I do it
You
every
left
time.
the space so
Listen,
that I spell it. No,
Gianni,
it's not-
Gianni,
Oh,
every time we
so
release an
I hate
episode
it.
now, I'm telling you the truth. That is gonna happen for the future episodes now. It just would. If you missed what we're talking about, you should tune in to the episode we just released, The Solution. Is that? Oh shoot! Is it that one? Wait, hang on. Let me double check.
I haven't listened to the one you just released, so it might be.
Yeah, 22, The Solution, Book 22. Listen to our episode, Book 22, The Solution, and you'll see why now I leave the pause and I don't spell Gmail now because I got Gianni to do it. You can hear it in that episode. And it's a pretty good episode too, I might say. So, you know.
Glad one person likes it. Glad someone out there likes it.
Thank you,
Jake
Bird
one,
Jimmy.
I hope you write in another email because we appreciate you. And
Yes.
just a Bird Jimmy, I hope you keep writing in. Who's our biochemist as well?
Ryan.
Ryan.
We got
Love
Ryan.
Ryan, write in another email. Also, everybody who hasn't written in an email, or if you have written in an email and I'm forgetting your name,
think about the
keep writing in.
Logster, Logan. We remember Logan.
The Logs. I love the Logster. Oh my god.
Hell yeah.
There's so many good. We've got so many good emails from folks out there.
Christina, Bullet Journal. You know, we got a lot of people.
Get those little fingies typing away on those keyboards. Tell me your least favorite Jake moment. I will read it with glee, and I will pat my belly with my guffaw as I do so.
Oh, like the
Look,
Yerk
because we're
Santa
going
coming
to
up in the next book.
Because we're going to the North Pole.
Yes.
Oh, see you later, Jake, you stupid fuck.
What a great way to end this episode, Gianni.
I'm not a morning person.
To clarify, we started recording this morning at 9 a.m., which to me,
It's
I'm
not
like,
even that early.
I'm like,
It's not even that early.
it's late in the day for me. And Gianni's like, hey, I just woke up.
Yeah. It's so bad. It doesn't matter what time I wake up. It just doesn't matter. Because like I said, I woke up, walked the dog at like 6:40. And then I pretended that I was going to go back to sleep for 3 hours and did not. And then I got out of bed and I came here.
Yeah.
And that's what it's like to work from home.
That's great.
So
So jelly.
enjoy.
Very jelly.
Enjoy.
Now, one thing I did want to pose to you just at the very end of this episode. So we did talk about, at some point, wanting to watch the TV series. Now, should we dive into those episodes as we get closer to the end of the series, or should we dive into those episodes once we're finished with the book series? Like, when would you like to
fine
dive
either
in?
way.
Yeah.
I'm fine either way. I pose it to our friends. The Logster. I pose it to the Logster. I pose it to Jake One. I pose it to Just a Bird Jimmy. To Ryan.
Ryan with an R.
Ryan. I pose it to someone who hasn't written in yet.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
You know who you are.
You tell us what you'd prefer. We could have, I don't know, we could just throw them in there in the middle of something.
Yeah.
Or we could not.
Because, like, we don't have to
know.
watch the whole series at once and then talk about it. We could watch, like, a couple episodes and then return to the books, and then watch another couple episodes, return to the books. I don't know if people have seen the series, if they're familiar with it. Like, I don't want to get too into it because there might be spoilers, so I've been kind of avoiding it, except for the trailer that I sent Gianni, where they're all 30-plus years old in high school.
Yeah, the trailer was crazy, by the way. But yeah.
Let us know if you're familiar.
I'm down.
I'm
down.
So we'll figure that out.
I'm game for whatever.
Whatever.
Game for truly whatever the Animorph, Morphin Buddies fans.
What do you guys want?
Would like to see.
Yeah. What do you guys want?
Yeah.
What do you feel
what do you
in
want?
your heart of hearts?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you want, huh? What do you want?
What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Yeah, you can send us your thoughts at morphinbuddies@gmail.com. You can send us those things there. And we will see you in the, so cold, so chilly up in the North Pole, Gianni. So cold in the extreme for our next episode. Don't worry, Gianni. I'll bring you an extra pair of mittens. So you can stay, your little hands can stay warm.
Thank goodness, yeah. Then I can't type anything on a keyboard.
You could just.
I'm all thumbs.
I actually know somebody who just uses her pointer fingers to type, and it stresses me out.
That's crazy.
It stresses me out.
That's crazy.
So we'll see you guys in the next episode of Morphin Buddies.
Kisses. Consensual, of course. Kisses.
Consensual kisses, yes. Mm.